does your schedule look like? Because we all know, especially during COVID, things got a little crazy. And I'm curious, what does it look like in this world today?
It's a good question. Yeah, comparing my current schedule to my schedule in 2020, it's very different. And part of the reason it's very different is because I intentionally made it different. This is a point I don't want people to miss as we have this conversation, that if something's not working for you, then you need to change. I love that quote that says, "You are not a tree, so move." It's so true. It's so simple and so true. I love it. And there's been multiple times in my life where I've had to say, okay, something's not working here for me, so something has to change. And in 2020, my priorities and values were not in line with my working schedule. And so I had to change. And that actually meant a radical job change for me. I was not necessarily happy about me leaving my job either, but I knew that if I wanted to be in line with the values and the priorities that I had in my life at this time and stage of my life, then I had to change my schedule. So I went from working 16-hour days during the pandemic, going out and investigating one outbreak after the other, to I work from home now. I get up in the morning and I get my kids ready for school. I get them off to school, and then I sit down at my computer and I work until I'm ready to pick the kids up from school. And then they know that while they're doing homework or kind of decompressing from the school day, that mommy's going to be finishing up a little bit of work before we can hang out and do things for the evening. The evenings, oh my goodness, they're chaotic. I have middle school children, so we're entering the stage of sports. So we have lots of sports like soccer and taekwondo, and we have youth group on Wednesday nights that we go to. It's just a very busy time in the evenings, which is another reason that in this phase of my life, I've said it's a priority for me to show up for my kids right now at all of these events. So that means I'm not going to be working in general evening hours. I'm going to have a daytime job. So I've structured my job around those expectations of my life right now and those priorities and values that I hold. That might change in the future. I loved the job that I had before, but again, I recognized that it wasn't lining up with what I wanted at this phase of my life, so I had to let it go. If you need to change life, you're allowed to do that so that you can be more in line with what your priorities and values are.
Before I talk about my own schedule, I really want to highlight what you just said, Heather. Part of being well and healthy is being open to change, because right now your schedule works perfectly the way it is, but when your children are out of high school or in college, you may decide, well, I want a job where I'm working 12 hours a day. You never know. And maybe that's healthy for you at that time because you have nothing else to do and you just want to pour yourself into that new job and because it's your passion. So really being open to change is very important for wellness of a healthcare worker. Or I would say any professional, really, because if you're not healthy, you can't even get the job done and you'll just lose the passion that you have for the work that you're doing. My schedule is a bit similar. So right now I'm full-time into consulting, so I have a lot of flexibility. I've learned to put everything I'm doing on the calendar, including breaks, because one thing, and I know we brushed over it, but we haven't used the word. One thing we do a lot in healthcare, we have this presenteeism syndrome. It's like we always have to be present. We don't know how to just leave for a few minutes and just go for a break and just breathe. And I'm one of those nurses when I worked at the bedside who was very guilty of spending 12-hour shifts without water, without going to the restroom. And we all know what comes after that. You start getting UTIs, right? So I'm learning right now because at this stage of my life, I need that flexibility. My children are very young. One is 3, the other is 7. So we deal with 2 different stages of life. My 3-year-old needs time to do the alphabet with mom, needed time to potty train. I've actually even taken him out of daycare because sometimes I didn't have any projects and I just had time to spend with him. And I said, I'm taking you out of daycare so you can be fully potty trained. And I get to celebrate those little victories because he was home for 2 weeks and was fully potty trained, which took a year and a half at daycare. and his alphabet, it felt like he learned it overnight because he was spending time with mom, and I was just nurturing that in him. So just things like that. I really have learned to just put chunks of my life into the calendar or it's not happening.
Yeah, it requires a high degree of organization, right? My calendar is color coded. I have a calendar color for the kids' schedule, so sports and various things on there. I have one for like home, which is kind of more like personal things just related specifically to me. I have my work calendar. I also do consulting on the side, and so I have a consulting calendar. And so that calendar can fill up really fast. And to be intentional is the name of the game here. I intentionally look for opportunities to spend time with my family, to spend time with friends, to complete projects. And that calendar helps me know when I can say yes and when I can say no. Because I always go back to looking at the calendar. What's on the calendar? And do I have the capacity to say yes to whatever this might be and still be taking care of myself as well as my family and my work? Yes. Organization.
Organization and color coding your calendar. That's very true. I had some colleagues who, that's back when I was working in public health, they would look at my calendar and say, Carole, you have so many colors. And I say, well, it's to know when I'm supposed to be in a meeting or I'm supposed to be calling this facility. If I don't have it in a color code, then I won't really know what's the priority there. And I may end up slacking because I don't remember, oh, this is an important meeting where I'm supposed to actually present. So yeah, color coding is a very good trick to stay organized because when your calendar has so many activities, it's just that one color, you can't even compartmentalize in your head.
Wow. Yeah, it's so interesting hearing from both of you. You're both at different stages in your life in motherhood, Carole, with your little ones like potty training, and Heather with just running around doing all of the extracurriculars. And it is imperative to have some kind of a system, but it sounds like both of you are doing such an amazing job in keeping everything together for your families and being there, and especially in a caring profession where you're also tending to so many needs of so many other people, both in healthcare and in consulting. I think that is such an amazing thing that both of you have accomplished. And it's honestly hats off to both of you because it is just incredible what both of you are doing and have accomplished. And I know it is not easy, but I'm just in awe of both of you, truly.
I highlight something you just said?
Yeah, of course.
You mentioned, not in so many words, but I think that's what I got from it, that we keep it all together. And you know the secret? No one has it all together.
No, oh my goodness, no. And I think I'm so glad you highlighted that, Carole, because it's one of the things that I really want people to understand. I constantly have imposter syndrome. I sit here doing these podcasts and interviews and writing blog articles. I'm doing things and I constantly feel like I'm dropping the ball left and right as a professional, as a mother. So this all put together thing that I present, it's a farce. It's me trying to be confident in who I am and what I'm doing. And that has taken me far. I don't want to diminish the work that I've put in to get myself where I am as a working professional and as a mom and in my personal life. I have put in the work. I've put in some hard work, but I don't have it all figured out yet. I'm still constantly trying to figure this out. And I like to think that it's why people continue to ask for my advice, because they see that transparency and that I've put in that hard work to try and figure out life. That's what this is. And that I do feel like I have something to offer, but I'm vulnerable and honest enough to say that I don't have all the answers. I'm still trying to figure this out myself.
Yes, I agree. I really do agree. And I'm glad you emphasize on confidence. Nobody has it all together. And I read somewhere an article that said the most driven people are usually the ones with imposter syndrome, because as you said, Heather, we've put in the work to be where we are. We are knowledgeable, we're confident about what we know, but we are transparent enough to say, I don't have it all together. I don't have all the answers. But if I'm helping you, for example, as a consultant, I will find the answer. I know where to find the answer, and that's all that matters. There's no human being who can possibly have everything together. There's always something in your life that you will drop because you're giving priority to something else. But it's really knowing how to manage it all in a healthy way. And I think personally that the healthiest people are the ones who admit that right now I have so much burden on myself, I'm burned out, I need to take a step back and reevaluate. Because that's when you stay healthy. Otherwise, you just get into depression. You become cranky. You push people away because you just don't want to admit that you don't have it all together and you try to control everything, which is very bad. So, yeah, we really need to emphasize that. We are very confident in what we do, but no one has it all together.
Nope, nope, not at all.